Hey, guys, we're live. We're just going to get started in a couple of minutes. I want to give people some time to chime on in, and also those that are watching from YouTube to go ahead and share it to their social media pages. As you come in, please state your name and where you're calling, not where you're calling, I'm sorry, where you're tuning in from. I'm going to get started in about 2 minutes. Come in, please state your name and where you're calling. Please share your name and where you're tuning in from as you guys come in, please. I just shared it to the VA Supercharge as well.
Okay.
Hey guys, hey. Welcome to tonight's training, Wholesaling Houses for Newbies live weekly training. It is Wednesday evening. I don't even know what date it is. Oh, the 5th. Oh my God, it's the 15th of the month already in 2020. So January is almost gone. Soon we'll be, oh my God, summer will be here. Then we'll be at the holiday time all over again. So this is crazy already, okay? Because I literally have not done anything yet for this year. Yay, me. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm so super duper excited to have Mr. Chris Jefferson from Richmond, Virginia on our training tonight. It's so hard to get a hold of this guy. He's super busy. He's all over the place, making big moves. I know a little something about what's going on behind the scenes, but I'll wait for them to launch it. I can't wait to hear about it and to share everything to the group. These guys, Chris, his team, his friends, his brothers, those that he works with, they're the real deal. And I'm super excited to have him on tonight. Just to do some housekeeping. Again, this is our live weekly training, our free weekly training. And it happens every single week on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. This is my way of giving back to the group, my way of giving back to the community by hosting free live training. So tonight, I promise you there will be a lot of nuggets, a lot of bombs, a lot of diamonds, a lot of everything. So you want to definitely get your notebooks and pens ready to take in this information on tonight. Also, those of you who are tuning in from YouTube, please share this broadcast to your personal pages. You can also create a watch party now. That's like Facebook's new thing. So pay it forward by sharing this information. Again, Chris, I thank you for being here. Welcome to Wholesaling Houses for Newbies. How are you?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on.
So where in the world are you on tonight?
I'm back home. I'm back in Richmond. I'm in the office. We are still grinding at it, and we wanted to join you guys and help some other people and see what information we can give and be of support to other people.
I appreciate you so much. I know that you're super busy. I know that you're all over and you're making some big moves. I know you guys are getting ready for We Live in February, and I believe you have another meetup coming up in Richmond.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it just happened or if it's coming up, but we'll discuss what you have going on at the end and let everybody know where you are, how to reach you, and to let them know what's going on. So let's get started. First of all, it's good to see you smile because you smile in none of your pictures.
It's funny you say that. I've heard that a few times. I feel like I smile a lot, but I'm not smiling enough in pictures.
I say you smile when you make it money.
Yeah, so
Ooh,
Mark.
is that in the background? Is that NASA?
No, that's Mark. So
okay.
Mark's my right hand. He runs everything on my team. Mark says I smile when I'm making money. So
hey, I understand that. I totally understand that. I know I should be frowning because I haven't made any money this month yet. So hopefully tonight you'll help get me back on track and all those that are tuning in. So how many, I don't want to do the whole, well, how did you get started in wholesaling and, blah, blah, blah. People don't care about that. Yeah. Basically, I know that you are doing big things down there in Richmond, Virginia. So if you could give us a overall scenario of what's going on down there, what you guys are doing, what your market is, where you're doing it, and just whatever you want to share with us to begin with.
Yeah, so we do a lot of different things. Right now, we're primarily focused on our wholesale business and our hotel business. So we buy a lot of properties, do minimal repairs, and put them back on the market. We do about 5 to 10 hotel deals a month. And we've been pretty consistent with that. And we're happy with that part of our business. Got an apartment complex that I developed that we just recently finished, which is 23 units. It was a $2 million development. So we're in the process of getting that fully leased up, completing that refinance. I've done a lot of new construction. I've done a lot of fix and flip. I have a business that was doing 20 to 30 of those a year. We've wound that down, eliminated a lot of debt, and we now focus on, buy and hold strategies as well as wholesaling, which is our active income producer in our business.
Okay, so you talked about wholesaling. Now, my group here in Wholesaling Houses for Newbies is geared towards the newbie. We do have vets, of course, that are in the group. Thanks, Mark. You're so kind. So we have vets that are in the group, but for the most part, we have newbies. The group is geared towards newbies, and I wanted to create a safe space for newbies to be able to ask any questions that they have and to basically, learn the process of wholesaling. So you mentioned you are doing wholesaling and wholetailing. So what exactly is wholesaling?
So wholesaling is the concept of buying a property and making no or minimal repairs to that property, and then listing that property on the MLS. So the benefit of the MLS and doing that strategy is that you're not limited to just your buyer pool or your buyer's list. Now you're hitting the biggest buyer's list there is, which is the MLS. So I like the strategy of purchasing property and then getting it put on the MLS. Now, some deals make sense to just do a standard wholesale deal. So our kind of, the red tape for us on that is if we see that, we could potentially make more than $15,000 taking ownership of a property and listing it on the MLS, then we're going to take that property and actually purchase it using cash or private money and focus on getting that on the MLS to get it sold.
Okay, so the properties that you are buying, they need little to minimum repair. So are you buying those properties at a wholesale rate? Are you buying them at a retail rate and then putting them on the MLS at a retail rate?
It's a really good question. So some of these deals are not deals that are what we would consider a standard wholesale deal. So we have some leads that come in and the property is already in good condition. The price is, more than 70% of ARV, but for us, it's about making money and creating some margin inside of the market. So if I can buy something at 80%, right, of ARV and sell it at 90%, pass off to somebody a 10% savings and make 10% inside of the market on my end, and that's a really good deal. I run my business based on the concept of volume. So, the intent is always to do as many deals as possible that's going to provide as much revenue as possible. So you can do different types of wholesale deals. It doesn't just have to be, like I said, something that's in wholesale condition, right? So it doesn't have to be the beat up property that needs 20, 30, 40, $50,000 worth of work. It's just about how you can create margin in the market. So if the comps show you that a property is worth 200,000 and you can buy it at 125,000, then yeah, it makes sense to buy that property and put it on the market at 175, 185, something to that effect, and create some margin in the market there. You get what I'm saying?
I totally understand. And that is amazing. So how long have you been in the business altogether? And how long did it take you to get to this place of doing, 10 plus deals a month?
Yeah. So, I started out 12 years ago. I started in 2008 is when I kind of jumped out to do my own thing. And it took me 2 years to do my first deal. We put a video out last night with Max Maxwell and some of the other speakers from We Live. And the concept of the video was just talking about the sacrifices that we had to make to get to where we are now inside of this business. And that sacrifice for me was working for 2 years, 24 months before I ever did my first deal. So I started in 2008. It wasn't until 2010 that I really got some traction inside of this business and was able to do my first deal. And, that just came down to, being consistent and figuring out the things that would work for me. Once I figured those things out in 2010, I started out by doing some wholesale deals, quickly moved into doing fix and flip. And then by 2013, we had a pretty big business where we were doing 20 to 30 fix and flips a year. And we transitioned in from there to building houses on infill development lots. So buying, lots in the city that we could purchase, build a house on, and then resell it.
That's awesome. Guys, as you are coming in, please let us know that you're here. Please give us your name and what city and state that you are calling from. I know we have viewers from all over that are listening for us tonight. And if you have any questions for myself or for Chris, please post them in the chat box as well so we can ask Chris. This guy knows his stuff from A to Z. We are going to unpack his story and unpack, what he's doing in his business until 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. So this is an opportune time for you guys to ask the questions that you are asking each and every day in the group. So now is the time to ask. So Chris, let's talk about the fact that it took 2 years to get your first deal. Now, these newbies in 2020, watch your boy, your finance boy, Max Maxwell. They watch him on YouTube, and then, honey, they off and running, and then they feel like they are going to write their first deal in 30 days. And when they don't do it, they may try to go and get a coach. And then once they get the coach and the coach, coaches them for 30 days and they don't get that first deal within that 30 days with the coach, then the coach is fake. This is all fake. It doesn't work. I'm discouraged. I'm blah, blah, blah. People who have no experience coming, straight from another career, another industry, and they're coming in. We have free YouTube University and we can watch all our videos and we're just off and running. In 2020, that's what we want. And with our career, we want to make $100,000 brand new to the industry. So let's talk about that. What do you say to that person? Because you have a group, Wholesaling VA Supercharged, which I love. And I'm sure that you get it just like I get it. I also do coaching myself. And what do you say to that person that just wants to come in and follow YouTube University for free and feel like, I'm going to do this thing in 30 days. I'm going to make my first $50,000.
Yeah. So here's the deal. At the end of the day, it's just not realistic. Right. And, the primary issue that I had in that 2-year time span is that I wasn't being consistent. Right. I half-assed the business. And so that's why it took me 24 months to be able to get my first deal. Here's what I see. I interact with a lot of people that are new to the business. I've got a goal for 2020 to try to help 100 people do their first deal. And the feedback that I get, the things that I see from people, the consistency and the mindset is the issue. So this just is not a business that you can work on when you want to work on it. It's not a business that you can try to do without spending any money on marketing, right? And so I think the era that we have, and I say we because I can identify a lot with people who haven't been able to do that first deal, right? And that it's taking them time to be able to do that first deal. And because I can identify with that, I'm trying to encourage people to see, the things that you have to be able to navigate around. And one thing that I tell everybody, and I mean this sincerely, is, almost everybody I talk to, they got a regular job, right? They got a 9 to 5. They clock in every morning. They clock out every evening, right? And they've got a responsibility to their business or the company they work at to be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And there's only so many times at your job that you can show up late before they're giving you a warning or you have a performance review or they fire you, right? And so what happens is the first thing you wake up, a lot of people, the first thing they think about when they wake up is like, oh shit, I got to be to work by 9 o'clock. You get what I'm saying? So you're making sure you get out of the door on time. You're making sure you get to work. The same energy that it takes to do that, the same velocity that you move at or move with to accomplish that, you have to be willing to do that in your own business. And so the problem with your own business is there is no boss. There is no manager that's holding you accountable. There is nobody giving you a performance review. You have to be willing to do all these things for yourself. And it's a true test of who we are as people, because we now have to, on a daily basis, calibrate ourselves and say, all right, well, if I know I got to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, that means I got to find time and create time outside of that to really dedicate myself to this business. And we all got shit that we got to do. We all got stuff we got to take care of. We all got families. A lot of us have children that we have to take care of. So it's imperative that we get serious about our time. And so what I explain to people is one of the most important things that you can do is what's called time blocking. All right. So if you know you only have X amount of hours in a day, you got to get so tight on your time that you can tell somebody what you're doing in 30-minute increments on a daily basis. So you got to know, all right, is it how much time does it take me to drive for dollars when I get off work? How much time do I need to be able to cold call? Okay, so if I get off at 5, does it take me 30 minutes to get home and get settled? And so now do I have from 5:45 until 7:30 to make calls? And if I'm using Mojo to make my calls or another power dollar, that means I can call 200 people in an hour. All right, so reasonably I should be able to talk to 400 sellers a day. That doesn't mean you're going to get live connects with 400 people, but you can make 400 attempts a day in that hour and a half, 2-hour time span. But you got to get super serious about your time. Again, the biggest issue I find is people don't take this serious. This is not a business that you can half-ass. And what I mean when I say that is I own apartments, I've built houses, I've ran a construction company, I've flipped houses, I wholesale deals, I lend money. I've done almost every facet of the real estate business. Wholesaling is the lowest part of the totem pole. It's at the bottom of the totem pole. All right. Wholesaling has it's the lowest barrier of entry. Okay. So anybody can wholesale. Right. And so as a result of that, it takes more hard work to be successful at wholesaling than it does at anything above it on the totem pole. Okay. Yeah. So you have to work even harder than you would work at doing anything else in this business. And I think that's the disconnect for a lot of people in getting that first deal. It's not that they're not capable. It's not that they're not knowledgeable. It really just comes down to how much effort are you willing to extend to do the things that you say that you want to do. And you got to be able to find that balance. So the thing about my Facebook group, the thing about your Facebook group, Max's YouTube channel or anybody's YouTube channel, anybody's Facebook group, is you can have all the information. All right. You can have it. You can have it all. But what nobody can give you is the effort to move forward and take steps daily in this business. And that's the disconnect. Only you can hold yourself accountable for that. And so because that is so tough for people to do, it was tough for me to do for 2 years, right? So because it's so tough for people to do, they run into a space where they can't get off the ground and get that first deal done. Now, on the flip side of that, you do your first deal, right? So you get that far. But then you've also got a whole nother set of issues now, right? So generally what happens, I see this happen with a lot of people. Now they accomplish that first deal. Now it's, all right, I made $5,000, made $10,000. All right, now I got to catch up on my bills. Now I got to catch up on my credit card. Now I need to get my car payment done. Well, I need to go on vacation right quick, yada, yada, yada. Not enough people say, hey, let me reinvest my money, right? So when people ask me how was I able to become a millionaire by 24, that's because when I started in this business and started having success, I didn't pay myself for 2 years. I did not take one penny out of my business for 2 years. All right. So that means I went 4 years of starting my business without getting paid. 4 years. All right. 2 years of not actually doing a deal, period. And then another 2 years of doing a lot of deals and not paying myself a penny. I kept working at a $15 an hour job. I kept living at my mom's house. At the time, I was paying a lot of money in child support. I was paying $1,125 a month in child support, making $15 an hour. So my paycheck every 2 weeks was $175. All right.
Wow.
But I figured out how to make this business work. And the reason I figured out how to make this business work was not money or anything like that. It was just being diligent and consistent every single day in the efforts that I put towards this business.
Okay, so thank you so much for that story. Let me get some shout outs real quick to who we have tuning in. So Tequila from Memphis, Tennessee, thank you for being here. Al Gordon from Charlotte, North Carolina. Stanley from Charleston, South Carolina, and Real Start Properties. So I thank you guys for tuning in. Those of you that are tuning in from YouTube, please share this to your social media pages. We're just getting started. We're just getting warmed up. We're about to get into some really heavy stuff for you guys. So make sure to share. For those who have just come in, please let us know who you are, where you're calling. I keep saying calling. Lord, I need a radio station or something. I must be speaking something to existence. Amen.
I do.
Let us know where you are tuning in from, where you're watching tonight from. Also, if you have any questions at all, any questions regarding business, any questions regarding wholesaling, fix and flips, buy and holds, multifamily, please go ahead and post those in the chat box, and myself or Chris will answer that. And just to piggyback off of what you said about, just getting into that routine and being disciplined and being consistent, that is just so important. And a lot of us, we want to be, full-time entrepreneurs, but we don't have that discipline. We don't have that consistency. So, at the end of the day, it does not matter how many YouTube videos you watch. It does not matter how many books you read. It's about mindset. It's about realizing that now you are a boss. Now you are the boss. Now you are worthy of that. Now we need to get away from our fear, of success and fear of failure, fear of embarrassment. And we need to walk into our rightful places, and we need to step up as bosses. We need to invest in our educations. We need to seek out a coach and a mentor that we identify with to help us, through the process. And we need to get around supportive people and accountability partners. Now, I know that Max is your boy, your brother, Nasa is your boy and your brother. How important is it for us to have accountability partners and to surround ourselves with other winners when we are, stepping into anything new? This can go for any new business, just being an entrepreneur, just going out there wanting to win. How important is accountability partners and the right team around you?
Yeah. So let me speak on that too. So, like my relationship with Max, my relationship with Nazar, I met Nazar, I want to say like 7 years ago, right? We connected through Facebook. And, that relationship with Nazar manifested by just seeing somebody else that looked like me doing and accomplishing some of the same things. So we ended up connecting actually on a vacation with a bunch of other people who are also real estate investors that we had met on Facebook. We all took a vacation, all met and built a bond and a brotherhood and continue to stay connected. And so what that does is, and kind of really the same with Max. I met Max last year sometime, and those relationships, the start of those relationships didn't even really focus on the business itself. It was just building a bond and a relationship. Now, what that did is, one, I was around people that are moving at the same pace that I'm moving at, right? And that are serious about their goals. They have ambitions and they have things that they want to accomplish. So as naturally as a byproduct of that, you're going to have those conversations. You're going to talk about the things that you're trying to get done. It's so critical to surround yourself with the right people. I'm going to tell you how critical that is, right? And how critical that's been in my life. So there was a point when I started this business that I didn't talk to any of my friends that I grew up with for 5 years. All right. And the reason that was, so that was the 2 years that I was trying to do my first deal. That was the 2 years that I wasn't paying myself. And a year after I had become, by people's accounts, wildly successful in this business. It was 5 years I didn't talk to my boys that I grew up with, people that I used to spend a lot of time with, guys that I played sports with, that I've got plenty of crazy, fun stories with, right? I didn't talk to any of them. The reason I didn't do that is because I knew that I had to get tight and right with myself, but I also knew that I'm the average of the 5 people I was surrounding myself with. And none of them were doing the things that I wanted to do and accomplish with my life, all right? And so I had to make a conscious effort to surround myself with new individuals. As a result, that's what allowed me to be able to meet somebody like Nazar. That's what allowed me to meet a bunch of people that I know around the country that do real estate, was because I was looking to surround myself actively with people who were trying to do and accomplish the same things as me. I think what happens with a lot of us is we have this fear of new energy. All right. And so we maintain this fear of, we go to RIAs, we go to these different meetups, and we just want to talk to the people that we know. Right. When things are really just as simple as having a conversation with somebody and, well, hey, hey, what are you working on? Or, hey, how can I be of some value to you? Hey, does it make any sense if, we both need prop stream? Does it make sense if we just split it? 50, instead of paying $100, we pay 50 a piece, right? You got to build these relationships and have these conversations.
I have 10 people on my account, Chris.
So you understand what I'm saying? So that's $10 a piece.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so you gotta make effort to build relationships and have conversations. A lot of that starts with humbling yourself. All right. I feel that God gives us humbling moments. There's times in our lives where we have to humble ourselves. I've had plenty of humbling moments. And part of being humble is being able to have a conversation with somebody in a vulnerable place and say, hey, I'm not where I want to be in my life right now. And that person being willing to stay and able to say, yeah, you know what, I'm not either, but there's power in unity. This is something that we can help each other accomplish together. It doesn't mean we have to be business partners. It doesn't mean when you make money, I got to make money. It just means I'm here to be supportive of you. I'm here to help you as much as possible. And I know that you're willing to do the same thing for me. And as a result, that's going to allow both of us to get into the space that we want to be in. And then with situations like Nazar, situations like Max Maxwell, what that's been able to do for me is then it creates new opportunities, new things to do, new things to chase down. Max is going to expose me, or has exposed me in the past, to opportunities that wouldn't not be available to me in the immediate, future. Right? Had I not built a foundational, strong relationship with him, not even surrounded again by business, just surrounded by just true brotherhood and friendship. Right? So you got to communicate with people. You got to build relationships. It's like cold calling. Like I talk to a lot of people that are new, and there's a fear of getting on the phone. There's a fear of cold calling. There's a fear of talking to a stranger, right? What I used to tell people all the time is it's just like going to the bar and asking a girl for a number. All right. At the end of the day, as bad as you might want her number, as great as she might look, what's the worst that she going to say? Just no. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if she says no, you just keep it moving. All right. Talking to someone on the phone, it's the exact same concept. There just can't be a fear there. And so it's just interesting how these different things tie into different things that we need in effort to be successful. Right. When you don't have a fear of talking to people and communicating with people and having conversation, once you overcome that in your personal life, that's going to translate into not having fear talking to people in business. Or when you run into a problem in your business, I've ran into plenty of problems. When you run into a problem in your business, not having a fear of having a confrontational conversation, being solution oriented. These things mirror each other and run parallel. You just have to focus on building these skill sets and recognizing what you may not be good at.
Now let's transition into your building out your team.
Sure.
So you just acquired an apartment complex with 23
Right.
units. And again, you do 10 to 20 deals a month. So that requires a team. So who does your team consist of besides Mark? Who does your team consist of? And what exactly do they do?
Yeah, so we've got people doing different things. So Mark is I don't know what to call Mark sometimes. I mean, Mark's my right hand. Mark runs all operations. Mark's a lot smarter than I am. Mark does everything. All right. So, I'm a visionary in my business, right? So I come up with the concept of things that I want to accomplish, set a pathway of progress in what we're trying to do. And Mark is really an integrator, is what you would call that role. So Mark makes sure that things get done and that we have the right people in the right seat. So Mark manages our VAs. So we have VAs that we would use and utilize to cold call. All right. So Mark's responsibility is to manage those cold callers, make sure they have adequate training, make sure we're hiring the right people. If they are not performing or not accomplishing the things that they need to accomplish, it's Mark's responsibility to let me know those are people that we need to get rid of. Right. Here on the ground, we've got, sales reps is what we would call it here. And what they do is they actively pursue leads, right? So we use different marketing methods. They manage those marketing methods for us and then try to curate those leads. And so, we do a lot of text messaging. We do, obviously, like I said, cold calling, and we do voicemails as well. All right. So we have people that are managing those different platforms. I don't personally believe in mixing those people up, right? So the person that's doing your texting, we don't have that person also managing voicemails. We have different people that are doing each thing independently because in my opinion, it takes different skill sets, truthfully, to do each thing. You're going to have somebody that's really good at cold calling. You want to keep them on a cold interaction. You're going to have other people that may not be strong over the phone, but they can handle a warm lead or a warm interaction so they can do live answers for voicemails, right? And then you're going to have somebody that their personality may be a little bit more held back. And so texting is an easier platform for them to communicate and be effective. Part of my responsibility is being able to evaluate what people's strengths are, what their weaknesses might be, so that I can help empower Mark to make sure we have the right person in the right seat to do these different things for us. But at a base level, somebody starting out, you're gonna fill all these shoes in your business. Yeah. You're gonna actively, manage every single one of these roles in your business. As you grow, different people are going to tell you different things about who the first person is that you need to hire. If I had to start all the way over and do this entire business again, the first person that I would find to hire would be an integrator, all right, or essentially a Mark, right? Not to boost Mark's head up too much. But I would hire somebody that would be an integrator, because this is a complex business in some aspects, but most importantly, there's two parts to this business that I think people forget. So this business is part 50% acquisitions, and then another 50% of the business is dispositions. But it's really two separate systems and processes that you have to set up and put in place. So our dispositions, for example, we have somebody that works dispositions for us when those deals come in. Mark might set up a text blast for that person, and now they manage the buyers. They're showing the property. They are negotiating with the buyers, things of that nature. And so you have to start to build out that team. When you have a partnership, and this is really important, you guys can't do the same thing. You can't have mirrored roles. All right. That's not going to be an effective situation. Okay. You have to put different roles for each of you. So one person may be focusing on the sales aspect of the business. The other person might be focusing on the dispositions part of the business. All right. You have to set up those roles and responsibilities. When you don't, that creates a lot of conflict. All right. You have to make sure you're covering as much ground as possible. So when you got two people, you can really be effective. The reason that works well on my end is, again, I come up with the concept of the things that we're doing. I raise money for our business that we need in terms of capital to be able to invest in different projects, to be able to lend, money to different people. I have to focus on, what
Can I get $40?
If I can find some. Yeah, absolutely. With interest. Absolutely. So, I've put myself in a position to, figure these things out. How I rationalize that, or how we talk about that internally is, my job is to be Bill Belichick for anybody who watches football. I've got to be the coach, right? Mark's job is to be the quarterback. All right. So I'm on the sideline and I'm calling a play into Mark, and I'm telling him the play that we want to run, every time we touch the football, right? Mark's live on the field. So if he sees in the field that we need to change the play, then he knows he has the lateral space to move, that he can change the play, right? But I've created the game plan. I've called the initial play, and it kind of trickles down from there. Now the rest of the team, they just implement the play that the quarterback is giving them. The quarterback's in the huddle saying, hey, this is the play that we're going to run. Hey, this is the route that you need to run. This is who you need to block. If you're a running back, this is the gap that you need to shoot. Your quarterback is helping to communicate that. And so that's kind of how that trickles down for us.
Absolutely. So you said so much. You got me sitting here taking notes. I got my little notebook here. So now you got me sitting here taking notes. Mark is the integrator. That is amazing. And I like how you made the go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, people call it different things. I call it an integrator because somebody has to be able to take things and put it in play.
Right. He's basically the chief operations officer. So he's your COO. He's the one who makes sure things run smoothly in your operations. And I love when you said that the CEO, which is you, and the COO should not have the same responsibilities. That was so good. That was good. You guys should not be doing the same thing. You should not be mirroring each other. I mean, in some aspects, of course you will. But, for the most part, your main duties and the things that you do on an everyday basis are going to be different. And of course, that allows your arms to stretch wider and longer. So that was really good. So I heard that you mentioned VAs. We have a question from Joseph.
Yeah.
Chris, when working with your VAs, how many leads do you typically get per week? Say 20 hours calling a week. So with that question, because it kind of piggybacks off my question, you mentioned texting, you mentioned RVMs. I know you're a big proponent of RVMs. I see that in your group. So first of all, talk about some ways. I know you probably don't want to talk about them all, but talk about some ways that you obtain your leads in your marketing. And then from there, when you give them to your VAs, about how many leads do you typically give them to call on, I guess, per day? And then what is usually like the outcome? Yeah.
So we don't look at it on a I guess, a per day thing. So what we try to do is, we want to have 10 to 20,000, I don't like saying leads, but records to attack on a monthly basis. All right. So we want to have a database monthly of 10 to 20,000 records that we're actively looking to work through. Now, if you have a VA like for Joseph's question, for example, if you have a VA that's making 200 calls an hour, 150 to 200 calls an hour, generally speaking, they're going to produce, if you have them working well, 1 to 3 leads a day. All right. And so when I say 1 to 3 leads, that's going to be 1 to 3 people a day that are open to an offer on their house. That doesn't mean that they're willing to take your offer. That doesn't mean that they're willing to take an appointment. That's just 1 to 3 people that are interested in an offer. So there's 2 steps to that call process. The first step is obviously getting the person on the phone, building rapport, creating the conversation. The second step is either making an offer or setting an appointment. So the way my business is ran, we make all of our offers cold without looking at the property. Okay. We started doing that a couple years ago. That works very well for us. That doesn't mean that everybody has to do that. All right. It takes time and skill to be able to develop the ability to be able to do that. So you have to be able to quickly maneuver to an appointment. All right. And so I'll give you an example. So I saw a post in my group today where somebody was having a conversation with a seller. Today's the 15th, right? And that seller asked the seller prospect when she could look at the property, or when was good for her to look at the property. And I think the seller said something to the effect of, hey, you let me know what works for you. So today's the 15th, and she scheduled for, or attempted to schedule rather, for the 23rd of the month. All right, which is, I think, next Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the error there is, again, we talk about this all the time on my end, speed is life. All right. So if you're setting an appointment, today's the 15th, you're setting it for the 23rd. Somebody like me, we're coming to making that offer today, the 15th, over the phone, and we're trying to get them under contract today, tomorrow, or every day up until the 23rd. So you have to move quickly and aggressively when it comes to working with these leads. But again, for Joseph's question, you're going to try to hit 1 to 3 people a day who are open to receiving an offer. Again, that does not mean those are going to be sellers. And so that's why it's important also to have kind of multiple people making those calls. And that's the point of making that reinvestment. So when you're first starting out, you can't go put 2, 3, 4 people on the phone. It's just not, for most of us, that's not financially possible, right? And so it might take you a little bit more of a stretch to get to that first deal with your first caller, right? So you just got to be in a position of, once you do that, instead of, like I said earlier, saying, hey, I got to pay my rent, hey, I got to pay off my credit card, hey, I got to do this, hey, I got to do that. Well, if you've already gotten this far without having done the deal, well, then just stick to what you've been doing, right? You got to reinvest that and say, all right, now I've made $5,000. Now I've made $10,000. Okay, you know what? Let me go hire another caller. So now, instead of getting 1 to 3 leads a day, now you're getting, 2 to 6 leads a day. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Just to give myself a plug, that's what we got to do, especially we got these big gurus on our line like Chris Jefferson. So that is one thing I do as a serial entrepreneur is my goal is not to be a super wholesaler. My background is, I've been in sales 17, 18, plus years in insurance sales. So most of my career has been in training and in management. And, I'm a firm believer, if you could sell, you could sell. So my personal wholesale goal has been only to do about 1 or 2 deals a month. I am at a point in my career where I'd rather create resources and opportunities for entrepreneurs. So one of the things I saw that was such a huge hole in our market and within the real estate and wholesaling industry were trained virtual assistants. So I have launched my virtual assistant company. It's called Impact Virtual Solutions, and we offer trained virtual assistants. They're trained on cold calling, lead generation, lead qualification, appointment setting, and so forth and so on. So if you are watching tonight and you are in need of a virtual assistant, a trained virtual assistant, please email me at virtualsolutions@CorrieNicole.com, or you can just go straight over to CorrieNicole.com and hit the resources tab, and you will see all of the pricing and everything there for our virtual assistants. So Chris, you have talked about your COO, you've talked about your VAs. Now, once you and also I love the fact that you said once you get a seller on the line, you are striking while the iron is hot. You are making that offer. Yeah. Okay, now once we've made the offer, once we've gotten it accepted, now we have to talk about buyers. Now, this is one question we probably get the most. I'm sure you see it a lot between how do you find sellers and how do you find buyers? Okay, so we've talked about, lead generation and so forth and so on. So what advice would you give to someone who's a newbie who's asking, how do I build my cash buyer list?
Yeah, so listen, I see this question literally, I feel like every day. It seems to be a very big question among new wholesalers. And it probably, in my opinion, seems to be the thing that kind of gets kind of out of whack. All right. I didn't start my business with a big buyers list. All right. I was more focused on producing actual deal flow. And what I mean when I say that is right now, part of our process when we have a deal that we need to sell inside of our dispositions process is utilizing list source or utilizing PropStream to go and build a 3-mile radius around the property, find buyers that have purchased for cash similar properties inside of that 3-mile radius, buying a list of those individuals, skip tracing that list, and then marketing to those buyers with text blasts. Okay. And that's been very effective for us. At the same time, even if that person does not want to buy your deal, you're organically now building your buyers list as well. But having a buyers list, figuring out cash buyers really is pointless if you don't focus on actually creating a good deal opportunity and, finding a good deal to bring to these buyers. One thing that I can assure you, we just had to cancel a contract. I don't remember what day, I think yesterday or something like that, on a deal that we thought we could sell. We dropped the price on that deal. How much? Over 50,000, I think, around 50,000. We got the price on that deal. So Mark didn't make as much money as we thought. But that being said, right, that's just part of the game. But what we did is we pulled a list of buyers in that area. We had multiple people that came out to see the property. It was a duplex. It was an expensive duplex. So it was over $400,000. And as a part of that, it just didn't sell, right? But that just tells us that if we couldn't sell it, then it just wasn't we just didn't get it right on the deal. All right, so now we've got to go back and potentially renegotiate that, or we got to let it go to somebody else. But my point in saying all that is, if you have a strong deal, if you have a good deal, buyers are going to move on that deal. We're in a point in the market where if you have a deal opportunity, deals are so scarce. All right, with buyers are not finding deals with their real estate agents going on the MLS right now. They haven't been for years. So if you have a good deal and you market it, the buyers will find you. We've sold a lot of properties on Craigslist. So we've put a lot of properties on Craigslist and found buyers that way and been able to sell them. Okay. So that's another method that we use. But our biggest and favorite is buying targeted buyers list around properties that we get under contract, aggressively and quickly skip tracing that information and marketing out to those buyers.
Wow, that's awesome, and that was a great nugget for those who are really listening and taking notes tonight to go ahead and buy those lists as cash buyers lists or the software, and go ahead and target within a 3-mile radius of the property that you have under contract. Hey, Glenn from PGH. I have no idea where that is, but hey, thanks for tuning in. Okay, so we've gone through pretty much the process. At this point, we're the property's under contract. We found our buyer. Now we are looking at closing and we are looking at our payday. We only have a few minutes left, but talk about how do you go about finding that investor-friendly title company, closing attorney. How do you find those people? Is this a Mark question? Mark can come on and answer if he needs to. So how do you find those people that we need to finish this up?
Mark was telling me to be honest. And the reason Mark said that is because one of our greatest frustrations, I would say, I think probably the top frustration that we have over the years are title companies. Attorneys, not so much, but mostly title companies. I've become very tight in how I manage that process with title companies, the expectations that I have from title companies. I think the best thing that you can do is talk to some of the top buyers in your market, and you're going to see a trend of what attorneys or title companies are popular, and you want to go and sit down and have a conversation with them. What I encourage everybody to do once you know that you're going to start creating some deal flow is you got to sit down with your attorney or title company and set proper expectations. So I think a lot of the issues that we've had personally with title companies or not so much attorney's office, but majority of those issues have been with title companies is not setting clear expectations of what we expect. And what I mean by that, in my personal opinion, the title process is the most important part of the entire process. All right. And the reason I say that is that sellers who are selling you their home or putting their home under contract with you, okay, there is no mutual expert involved in the process. So there is no real estate agent that seller views as an expert that they trust to complete the transaction. So they are placing their trust in you as somebody that approached them about purchasing their property. Now, we know that once we enter the contract with the seller, especially if we already have a buyer, that gets shifted over to the title company. It's not really something that we move forward, right?
Okay.
And if you don't have a good title company and they start to create frustrations, the buyer just knows you. You're the one that built rapport with them. You're the one that said you want to buy their house. You're the one that signed a contract with them. So they just know you. Their trust is solely based on you. So if somebody doesn't perform the way they're supposed to under your direction, if that's because you're telling them what title company to work with, right? Then the seller is going to put that on you. All right. One thing I think is important to ask the title company is how many investors do they work with? How many deals do they close a month? How many people work in your office? All right, we've got to be realistic. So if if it's just one person that works in a title company and they have a searcher that they outsource or something to that effect, and they're doing 10, 15, 20 closings a month, we got to be realistic and realize they probably can't handle the volume that we need deals to close, right? Because they don't have the capacity to work through that many files. So you got to ask some of these key questions and get familiar with who you're using. I would also ask some of my buyers, hey, what title companies have you had a bad experience with? They're going to be honest with you and tell you some of the title companies they haven't had a good experience with. So now when you run into a situation and you're selling your deal and a buyer is trying to tell you, hey, I got to use my title company. This is who I use. I can't use your guys. You got to be able to recognize, hey, that's not really a good title company. So like we've got a blanket policy. We don't let people use another title company that are going to buy our deals. Title companies, they all do the same work. You don't want to complain about what the fee is and yada, yada, yada. What we tell people is if you have a title company or an attorney that you're typically used to working with, it's somebody that you do a lot of business with, you're more than welcome on your own dime to pay them to review the file, to review the closing documents. If you want to have the attorney you've been working with for 10 years review all the closing documents before you close, you're more than welcome to do that. They can look over the deed, they can look over the title policy, they can look over everything, but the closing itself is going to be done with our attorney's office.
That's good. So, Chris, are you single?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, okay. So, speaking from a single person's point of view, as we wrap up, it's frustrating as hell, ain't it? It's so frustrating. So, just how you navigate through the whole, being single scene and vultures and women. I mean, you're a nice looking guy. You're out here doing the thing. You're a leader. So I'm sure they're in your DMs. So let's just talk about that. And then from there, give us your contact information.
Yes, nobody's in my DMs, but listen, at the end of the day, I'm focused on a singular goal, which is to build my business and have freedom. And I've got blinders on, so to speak, and how I look to accomplish that and get that done. Again, like I said at the beginning of this call, when we first talked about being successful in this business and doing that first deal, you gotta be dedicated and willing to commit yourself to what you say that you want to do. And I know and I accept with that is going to come some sacrifices. I'm in a space where I'm willing to make that. I come from sharecroppers in South Carolina. I'm a descendant of
Wow.
slaves. And so I know that if I want to change the lineage of my family and what that looks like after me, that I got to be the one that's got to maybe sacrifice some things in effort to be able to see that happen. So that's just something that's important to me. But we all have different things that are important. You just got to get in tune with that and figure out what you want to make happen. But if you want to find me, have I changed my Facebook name?
No, it's under Chris Jefferson, and your Facebook group is Wholesaling VA Supercharged. And what's your IG handle?
Yeah, so IG is the Chris Jefferson. So the Chris Jefferson on IG. On Facebook, you can find me under Chris Jefferson. And you can also join my Facebook group, Wholesaling VA Supercharged. We go over a lot of different things in that group. We created the group. Again, we want to reach a goal of helping 100 people do their first deal, but also giving me a space to be able to, if somebody's got a question, I can do my best to try to answer that question directly, point somebody in the right direction. And that's one of the reasons that we created the group. It's a cool group. I think we're fun to deal with in a group. So we gotta do what we can.
I really love the group. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time and your effort and all of your nuggets that you have dropped on tonight. I am going to call you on Facebook Messenger right now because my battery's about to die on here. So answer your phone. But thank you so much for being here, Chris. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Bye.